It's November 22nd, 1987. It's about 11 p.m. and you're chilling at home watching some Doctor Who reruns, specifically the horror of Fang Rock. Suddenly, your screen starts tearing and distorting, and a man appears on the screen. A fixed grin on a rubber face leers back at you, heavy with shadow and staring, or at least you think he's staring. You can't quite see the eyes as they're obfuscated by some large sunglasses. Your brain's primitive alarm bells are going off. The man's grin is far too wide. The pale, sallow rubber skin looks sickly in the harsh light. The sunken cheekbones and jutting out facial features offer a cartoonish mockery of the human facial structure. And the ever so slightly too large head proportions gives us the idea of a demented bobblehead. And then you register the garbled talking.
You should talk often with the old ones of your tribe. That is the only way to learn.
I'll get you a hot drink, miss.
I've seen some dry clothes.
He's a freaking nerd. He's better than Chick's worst. Jesus.
As far as I can tell, a massive electric shock. He died instantly.
Now, at the time this happened, you'd probably be sitting there on your couch, sweating from fear, panicking, thinking you're going crazy, perhaps. You probably wouldn't be sitting there thinking, wow, I just saw a very forward-thinking art piece that is an early example of art to come. And having experienced this safe from trauma behind my little internet screen, I would say that the Max Headroom incident was very ahead of its time, and an early example of something I call corporate subversion art. A loose but very popular example of this is something like Five Nights at Freddy's, the horror-turned fanfiction-laden series playing on the tropes of Chuck E. Cheese animatronics, albeit repackaged in a copyright-free way. This uses Chuck E. Cheese and his animatronic pals as elements of horror and subversion by turning them from friendly children's mascots that are a little creepy looking into murderous robots. Subverting the corporate face of Charles Entertainment Cheese and using his iconography to get streamers to do funny screams. That one's a bit looser, as it's not exactly a defined corporate property that they are directly ripping off of, as it's technically legally distinct from Chuck E. Cheese, even if we all kind of get the idea. Corporate subversion art typically thrives on the internet, where it's a lot harder to sue somebody for a web cartoon. Look at Pilot Red Sun's early work, like the Quaker Oats video or the Hamburger Helper video. These take a corporate icon, repurpose them into a creature of fear and unease, and typically subvert brand slogans into something weird and uncomfortable. This isn't exclusive to videos or games either. For example, this beautiful digital piece by Richard Perry called The Mixed Situations Room. And while the exact art being presented for corporate subversion art may change, as we enter a society more inundated with ads at every turn, and with corporations simply amassing more and more money and power, this form of art will likely be more and more prevalent. It's always fun to take the piss out of something that you're not supposed to. So how exactly does a few weirdos breaking into a television station and doing unsettling and perverted things on air translate to a work of art that somehow predicted modern internet culture? Well, the signal intrusion uses these ideas by taking Max Headroom and repurposing him to communicate and distribute their own ideas. In the Max Headroom lore, he's presented as a freedom fighter, a talking head that gives the truth. In a future ruled by corporations that silence the media, Max Headroom speaks the truth. Ironically, he would go on to become the spokesperson for Coca-Cola, with a catchphrase, "Catch the wave." This same catchphrase is said by the man in the video when he holds up a Pepsi can and says, "Catch the wave," clearly mocking Coke's new Coke ad campaign and Max Headroom's place there as a figurehead of it. The mysterious man under the mask also uses the Max Headroom persona to air out his own grievances. A figure representing factual truth being used to represent his own truth. He doesn't like WGN. There are several digs at World's Greatest Newspaper and the WGN reporter Chuck Swirsky. He might have formerly had a job associated with the station. This would explain how he's able to get the radio equipment needed to overpower a TV signal, which is a massive undertaking that would have cost a lot of money. On the other hand, his Max Headroom also sings a phrase from "I Know I'm Losing You" by The Temptations and hums the theme to Clutch Cargo, two things he likely enjoys. He also says, "I still see the X," somewhere in the video, which is a reference to the last episode of Clutch Cargo. These are things he likes, and he's bringing them forward through the persona, showing that his version of Max is truly an expression piece for him. Further exemplifying the shock he was going for, using Max as a target for gross and perverted humor is also something done in the video a few times. The video does end with Max's bare ass being smacked by a person in a maid costume. He's got a dildo on his finger. He has dirty gloves. This is all not unlike some YouTube art that repurposes mascots as sex perverts and weirdos for shock value and humor. Something else this leans into is the horror elements of corporate subversion art. The creator accentuates this unnervingness by rolling around and twitching his face and snapping his head back and forth with the mask on to create weird flailing motions and really make you uncomfortable. Television is and was far more curated than YouTube. You couldn't just put whatever up there, and usually there weren't many shocking sudden horror moments unless you were watching a horror movie, which was usually planned, programmed, and you knew you were getting into it. Unlike YouTube, where you can have videos that get scary throughout and shock you, or easily find mini ARGs, creepy videos, all that sort of stuff. This was not really a thing on TV. So to suddenly have your signal drop out and the rubberized, constantly grinning face of Max Headroom rant to you about his piles would probably instill some fear in you. This feat in general is even more impressive when you realize exactly how hard it is to break into network broadcasts. Hacking television broadcasts requires a lot of transmitting power and a lot of equipment. There are estimates that the equipment needed to pull this off could have been around $30,000 worth. This was also done at great risk to the persons doing it. The FCC was quoted that the perpetrators could have faced a maximum fine of up to $10,000 and a year in prison. Even though the 5-year statute of limitations was surpassed in 1992, no one has ever come forward to claim that they did it, after all of these years and all of this interest in it. Whoever did it, they're true artists. They came out, made a statement, got spanked on the ass, and left into the night, never to be seen, never to be found. Pioneering artists of the highest caliber, disappearing back into the airwaves forever.